Sousa Show. Sports,
Nobody tells our stories better than our clients.
The difference is stark. I was rear-ended at a stop. I thought I was fine, and then once I got home, I realized it's a lot worse than I thought. I ended up having a ruptured disc. You say you're not hurting, and then an hour later, you're saying you're in all this pain. I just felt like most people would think that I was lying. And that's when I decided to call Daniel Stark. I owe a lot to Daniel Stark. They really got me what I deserved.
The difference is stark.
We definitely love our relationship and love Extraco. It's been an amazing experience.
They made the PPP process easier. They were reaching out to me saying, what can I do to help you? That made a huge difference because my stress level, when we shut down, to afterwards was night and day.
Our experience with Extraco has been phenomenal since the very beginning, so we love Extraco.
With Ease US, make studio quality voiceovers for your videos online in over 149 languages and dialects. Never been easier to create professional grade videos and voiceovers. Try it today at easeus.com. That's EASEUS.com. Ease US.
Hi, I'm Mitch, the co-founder of Cake, a sexual health and wellness company designed for today and designed for you. Yes, you. The entire product line can be found at hellocake.com, and it's also available in every Walmart near you.
Send money abroad in just a few steps with Remitly. Sign up with your email, enter an amount, choose how your loved ones receive the money, enter your recipient's information, select a payment method, hit send, and relax. Download the Remitly app today.
Tervis is all about staying hydrated. Each product is built to last and comes in endless designs to match your personality. Stay refreshed and express yourself with Tervis. Visit tervis.com today and find your perfect tumbler.
Looking for tickets to the hottest shows, games, and events? Ticket Liquidator is your one-stop shop for great prices, no hassles, and guaranteed tickets. Whether it's sports, theater, or concert, for the best seats at the biggest events, start with Ticket Liquidator today at ticketliquidator.com. Ticket Liquidator. The U-Like Air 3, launched in 2023, ushers in a new era of sapphire ice cooling technology, offering nearly painless hair reduction in just 3 weeks. That's ulike.com. U-Like.
Baby, it's the Pete Sousa Show, Rogue Media Network. I'm Scotty Swingler. I am high above Waco, Texas, in the Alico building, Studio 3, if you were wondering. Happy to be with you on a Monday. Weekend's over, baby. A lot to react to. First thing we need to react to, though, I am obviously not Pete Sousa. This show is called the Pete Sousa Show, named after our immaculate leader, Pete Sousa. And Pete is on the run, I think fleeing the feds, maybe as part of this NBA gambling thing. Where are you at, Petey?
I'm at the Charlotte airport. I wanted to check in. First of all, your intro just kicked ass. So I'm fired up to watch the show. I'm headed over to the hotel now. We got that ESPN College Basketball Summit. I'm happy that Brian Kelly got fired. There's a lot on that. I think
you're happy about it.
I actually am. Yeah, I don't think he ever truly embraced Louisiana, and I think I've lived in Louisiana. So I thought
Bro, that fake accent in that gym
yeah. So I got bad vibes off that. And then I'm worried about Dave. I mean, I think you were right. I love Dave. But I think it's time to turn the page, right?
Yep.
And I'm pumped that the Big 12 has 5 teams in the top 25.
Yeah.
I'm really pumped. And I want to say I'll be back tomorrow doing the show from Charlotte. I'll at least get us started. And Scotty, I love you. And thanks to Chris Visser and everybody. And I didn't even know that was Studio 3 till now. So I'm going to say goodbye, but also say job well done, brother. I'll talk to you soon.
You look sharp, Pete. Have fun,
Thanks,
man.
All right. See you guys.
See ya. All right. That's Pete Sousa, my guy, the host of the show. And that's why he makes the big bucks, folks. He's traveling the world, representing Rogue Media, representing ESPN, doing his thing, covering sports at a high level. We love him. Hey, here's what we're going to get into today. As a fill-in host, like, you want to address the audience, but also, like, you kind of want to stay in your comfort zone. So I'll just be really honest with you. Today, it's going to be a Monday, and we're going to stick in Scotty's comfort zone. We're going to talk college football. We're going to react to the top 25. Like Pete just said, 5 Big 12 teams getting in there. Don't know that the conference's level of respect has risen quite to the level where we'd like to see it. But again, you get a team or two into the playoffs, you win a couple of those playoff games, perceptions can change quick. And we're going to look very closely at this Big 12 title race and why it's so compelling. We're also going to talk about Dak Prescott. And I'm having Grok run some data right now on Dak that I will get to you maybe in the next block. Dak Prescott was bad yesterday. And we expect the Cowboys to not be great. And we certainly expect this Cowboys defense in 2025 to not be great. But what has been great until yesterday is Dak Prescott and the Cowboys offense. And then yesterday, the wheels fell off. We're going to get to that. But I do first want to look at this AP top 25 after week 8 of the college football season. Hard to believe, by the way, that and I actually think we just finished week 9. I think my graphic there is wrong. That's what you get when you produce and host the show. I think this is after week 9 of college football. But nevertheless, let's look at the top 25, where we sit right now. And I want to provide some commentary on some of this. So first of all, these top 3 teams here, I think, have really separated themselves from the rest. Everything could change. We've got a lot of football left, y'all. All of November, then conference championship week. Everything could change. But where we sit here, ending October, going into November, prime time for teams that want to prove they belong in the postseason. These top 3 teams, I think, have really separated themselves, not only because they're undefeated, but because they are winning games at a remarkable clip. Like, Indiana didn't just beat Oregon, they whooped them. Ohio State isn't just undefeated. They have like an 85% defensive stop rate. Teams can't move the football against them. And as much as it hurts me to say it, as a guy that grew up in Waco, Texas A&M just made LSU look like a high school team. And that offense is loaded with weapons. They got 2 running backs and 2 receivers who will play in the NFL, at least. And that defense is crazy, by the way. Torian York is one of my favorite players in college football. So I think Ohio State, Indiana, A&M have clearly separated themselves right now as the front runners competing for a national title. There are other teams in this top 25 that could get it, but it would honestly shock me where we sit today if it's not one of those 3. I think there's a pretty healthy gap between 3 and 4 here. This is where I see some of these teams so radically differently than these AP voters. I wish I had a vote. I wonder how I can get a vote. I'll ask Mosley that later. Alabama, I do believe, is number 4. That opening game looks like a fluke. They have looked really good. They've beat really good teams. Georgia, I don't buy as a top 10 team. This is not the year for Georgia. I think They got lucky to escape that Auburn game with a win. Thank you, officials, for giving Georgia that one, right? I think they're going to drop a game or two here in November. I don't expect Georgia to stick around the top 10. Oregon, I believe, is a top 10 team. But I don't know if they're better than Ole Miss. I really don't think they're better than Georgia Tech. I don't think they're better than Vanderbilt. They're probably better than Miami. But I'd probably have Oregon at like 9. Ole Miss, I keep wanting to believe are posers just because Kiffin's teams never quite finished the deal, but they look good. They deserve that spot. Georgia Tech, I think, finally starting to get to where they belong. Again, on this show, I said in August, Georgia Tech's going to make the playoff. They might win the ACC. It's certainly looking that way now. Haynes King is unbelievable. Shout out to Longview, Texas. Vanderbilt, Diego Pavia. I don't know what to make of them, y'all, because they really did not look the part against Alabama, which surprised me. It was on the road, so we'll give them some grace for that. And they've looked great against everybody else. So I think Vanderbilt gets into the playoff, but I'm not sure how I feel about them. They're probably ranked correctly. Miami's probably ranked in the right spot. I think BYU and Tech, as a show that covers a lot of Big 12, it's really fascinating to see where they're going to end up and where they end up depending on this Big 12 title race, which we'll get into next. They're probably appropriately rated here, but I think I'd have BYU 6 or 7. Like we can keep doubting this head coach and we can keep doubting this true freshman quarterback all we want. And they keep winning. And you know, the knock on BYU last year and even the first half of this season is like, well, BYU keeps winning games close. Like they're not blowing teams out the way Indiana is. And again, I think there's a huge gap between those top 3 teams and everybody else. But did you see what they did in Ames Saturday? Down by a touchdown at half and then winning the game by like 20 plus. Y'all, Ames, Iowa is notably one of the 3 or 4 hardest places to play in the Big 12. You don't get road wins in Ames easily. Iowa State under Matt Campbell is never an easy out. Rocco Becht is a good player. Matt Campbell, great coach. And BYU rolled in there in that second half with a true freshman quarterback and a great defense and made it look easy. I think BYU, and we'll talk about the Big 12 title race in a few minutes. I think they're going to surprise some people. I think they belong in the playoff as of today, certainly, right? Undefeated, leading the Big 12. I think they belong in the playoff even if they don't win the Big 12 title game. I think they're one of the 12 best teams in America. And I think they could beat some of these teams ranked above them. I think I'd bet BYU right now over Miami. I think they'd play Vanderbilt and Oregon very close. I think they'd beat Georgia. I do. Maybe I'm naive. And Texas Tech, we know the talent. We love the coach here in Waco. He was at Baylor. But that's a program that has like a 50-plus year history of disappointing you. So who knows? Notre Dame, who knows? Tennessee, who knows? Virginia, lucky to escape. Took double overtime to beat Belichick. Louisville looks good. Cincinnati might be better than they're ranked here. It's not just because they blew out Baylor the other day. I've decided Baylor's not good. So I'm honestly not super impressed that they won by 3 touchdowns over Baylor. But it's the fact that they've won every game. Again, kind of like Alabama. They dropped their opener, and that is starting to look like an anomaly. They've beaten everybody else in their schedule. We'll see in a minute. The toughest part of their schedule is coming up. We're going to know a lot more about Cincinnati at the end of this month, the end of November, than we do at the beginning of November. Oklahoma and Texas are posers. Get them out of here. They don't belong. Missouri, hated to see their quarterback go down. Michigan's probably appropriately ranked. Hello, Houston. Really glad to see the Cougars get in here. They've earned it. They're 7-1. Only 1 loss. I think Houston is going to sneak into that Big 12 title game. I'll tell you about that in a minute. SC, overrated. Utah, probably about the 25th best team in the country. Memphis. I have a question for voters. I would actually love to hear this from voters. Not that any of them are watching today. How is Memphis 25? USF drops out of the rankings. They beat Memphis. And Navy is the group of 5 team that remains undefeated. Now, Navy, we're going to, just like we're going to find out a lot about Cincinnati in November, we're about to learn in the next 3 weeks who Navy is, because they play Notre Dame, USF, and Memphis in the next 3 weeks. We're going to know after those 3 weeks who's going to represent the group of 5 in the playoff. I picked Navy preseason. I like to be right. If Navy loses to Notre Dame but beats USF and beats Memphis, they're going to get into the playoff. They'll probably win the American. You can lose to Notre Dame, win those other 2, and get in at this point, the way it looks. Unless that makes voters put, or the committee put Boise State back in the picture, but I doubt it. There you go. That's the top 25. Again, I think the top 3 teams here, healthy separation between the remaining 22. Bama, Ole Miss, Georgia Tech, Vanderbilt, appropriately rated here inside the top 10. I think Georgia, Oregon, and Miami probably a little overvalued, though I think Oregon is a top 10 team. BYU, Louisville, Cincinnati, maybe Houston. Probably a tad underrated. I am biased. I cover the Big 12. But that's how I see it. I think you can pretty much lock in those top 4 for the playoff. And I think Georgia Tech is probably a lock for the playoff. And the way the SEC finishes will be really interesting. There you go. That's your AP top 25. I'll tell you what, we're going to take our first break. When we come back, we're going to talk Big 12 title race breakdown. It's a 4-horse race now. There are 4 teams left hunting for a Big 12 championship. Could another team get in there if something wild happens? Yes. But in reality, we're down to 4. It is not at all the 4 anybody would have picked preseason. Nobody picked these 4 preseason. Most people picked one of the 4. So it's a fun race. The Big 12, once again, showing you it is the most unpredictable, dynamic conference in college football. This is the Pete Sousa Show. I'm Scotty Swingler. Stick around. The Big 12 title race. We'll talk about it next.
Bubble allows you to make it real and for it to actually work. So I feel like Bubble bridges that gap and being able to give people the opportunity to make their ideas come to life really quickly too. I love that I can sit down and build something the way that I think it should be built and have the control over it.
Bubble turns ideas into fully scalable apps. Try Bubble today.
Hi, I'm Jo from Face Theory. You're going to want to have a specific goal for your skincare routine. What do you want to achieve? Active ingredients are really strong, and if you're using too many at once, your skin can get overwhelmed. Don't overspend on products. Choose products that have scientific research behind them. At Face Theory, if you're not happy with a product, just say so, just give us a shout and we'll give you your money back, no problem.
I know you're gonna love this Kodak Dot Plus printer. You guys just connect it to your smartphone and then you're gonna use the Kodak Photo Print app. It's going to print you a 4x6 photo. I am just in awe. I love how these turned out. Also, the printer comes with a free cartridge of 10 photo sheets. I can assure you, you are going to love this printer as much as my family has. You guys have to check it out for yourself.
Streamline event and appointment booking with Amelia's sleek, modern, and fully customizable booking forms. Tailor the colors, fonts, and design to match your brand and seamlessly integrate with your WordPress website. Whether it's for events or appointments, Amelia makes booking simple, stylish, and perfectly aligned with your business. Enhance your booking experience today at WPAmelia.com. That's WPAMELIA.com. Amelia.
When you learn a language with Babbel, you start a journey that takes you further and further. Anytime and anywhere you wish. It's easy and fun. Broadens your horizons and keeps your brain fit. A journey into new thoughts, new cultures, new adventures. So what are you waiting for? Start your journey with Babbel now. Go to babbel.com or download the app.
BadCreditLoans.com is a pioneering service provider that has carved a reputation in the financial industry for its dedication to helping individuals with bad credit secure loans. By making timely repayments, borrowers can gradually repair their credit history, thereby increasing their chances of securing better loan terms in the future. BadCreditLoans.com serves as a beacon of hope for those with bad credit. Simple, fast, and reliable loan application process. And its commitment to responsible borrowing makes it a trusted partner in the journey towards financial stability.
Hello, welcome back. Pete Sousa Show. My name's Scotty Swingler. We just talked about the AP Top 25 in college football. Great weekend in college football. BYU proved a lot to me on the road in Ames. And so today I wanted to throw this up on the screen. This is the Big 12 title race. And man, I wish that graphic was just a hair smaller so it would fit in there. Let's see if StreamYard will let me adjust this. Well, that didn't help. See, it's so fun, y'all, to produce and host the show and experiment on the fly. Thanks for bearing with me. That's okay. I mean, do you like that? Anybody in the chat, tell me what you think. We can do it this way. Maybe I'll blow up the graphic here in a second. Solo it a little bit. But this is the Big 12 title race. And here's what I did. These are teams 1 through 4 and their remaining schedules. And I would just like to suggest that there's a strong chance, based on these remaining schedules, that the University of Houston, one of the worst teams in the conference last year, if not the worst. No, not the worst. Oklahoma State was the worst. And they remain the worst. The second worst team in the conference last year could sneak into the Big 12 title game. I think there's a very good chance that Houston gets in. Here, I'll just go ahead and solo this for a second. Check this out. Look at this. Here's the Big 12 title race. You've got BYU at the top leading right now. They've got 2 tough games. Tech and Cincinnati, you see in this graphic, also at the top of the Big 12, and both of those are on the road. I think BYU is the best team in the Big 12, and it would surprise me if they win all 4 of these remaining games. By the way, TCU is no joke either. I think BYU wins that game at home, probably pretty soundly. But the only game here for BYU that's kind of a lock to me is UCF. At Tech or at Cincinnati, I think there's a likelihood BYU drops one. Cincinnati is also undefeated in conference play. If the championship game are played right now, there's no tiebreaker needed. You've got 2 undefeated teams in the conference. It would be BYU and Cincinnati. Cincinnati's got some tough games here. In fact, I would say Cincinnati has the toughest path here. There is no easy win left on Cincinnati's schedule. They go to Salt Lake City to play Utah. That is no walk in the park. Utah is theoretically still in this hunt. I don't think they have a shot realistically to make the title game, but they technically still have a shot. And I think they're pretty motivated. I also still think Kyle Whittingham is probably the best coach in the Big 12. At Utah is tough. Arizona can beat anybody in this conference. BYU, you've got them at your place, Cincinnati. But I think BYU is the best team in the conference. And then at TCU, again, TCU is in the middle of this conference this year, but they can beat anybody also. I think that is the toughest road forward. It would not surprise me if Cincinnati gets through that stretch 3-1. It would also not surprise me if they go 1-3. I do believe in this quarterback. I believe in this program. That's a tough road to reach the title game. Fortunately for Cincinnati, they've got a leg up on Tech and Houston because they're undefeated in conference play. Texas Tech. I hate to say it because I'm a Baylor guy. That's a nice path for them to reach the title game. Obviously, the matchup with BYU is huge. Huge. And it's at Texas Tech. That is sort of a Big 12 title game a few weeks before the title game. If Tech loses that game at home to BYU, it is going to be really tough for them to make it into the conference title game. And in fact, I think they don't. And I'm going to tell you why in a second. If Tech loses to BYU, and by the way, if I were betting that game today, I'd probably bet BYU on the road. I would, after what they did in Ames Saturday. If Tech loses that game, they're out. Tech could also lose at Kansas State this week. Kansas State has played lights out since Baylor came back and beat them in Waco. Lights out. They've looked like the team we thought they'd be week 1. UCF at home should be a win. At West Virginia should be a win. So again, for Tech, it's about beating BYU at home. You have to win that game. Otherwise, you're not going to get in. And here's why you're not going to get in if you lose to BYU at home. Because Houston is not going to lose another game. Start telling your kids about 11-1 Houston. It's going to happen. It's going to happen. I need to put myself back on camera for this because I'm so deadly freaking serious about this right now. Look at me. Warn your children. Comfort your spouse. Prepare your energy. The Houston Cougars are going undefeated the rest of the way. They will be 11-1 after being the second worst team in the conference last year. Tell your grandkids one day the legend of Willie Fritz. Let me show you again. Look at this path for Houston. It is like the yellow brick road leading to the Emerald City. West Virginia at home, that's a 21-point win for Houston. At UCF, old American rivalry, that's a 14-point win for Houston. TCU is the best team left. That's the best team they've got left. By the way, they're in the dead middle of the conference, and you've got them at home. That's the toughest game left. I'm not saying Houston rolls in that one. But have you seen what Kendall Briles has done calling offenses in the fourth quarter the last 2 weeks? That's a win for Houston. That's a win for Houston. Absolutely. And at Baylor, that's a 21-point win for Houston. You're going to hear me talk more about Baylor in a minute. Houston's going to win 3 of those 4 games by multiple touchdowns, and I think they'll beat TCU by a field goal. Again, warn your children. Prepare them. I'm not sure it's the apocalypse, but it is utterly shocking and it's challenging my Baptist faith. Houston is going to go 11-1. Now, to reach the title game, because Houston does have a conference loss, they need Cincinnati to drop one, and they need Tech to drop one, because Tech holds the tiebreaker over them right now. I'm not sure how the tiebreaker between Houston and Cincinnati would work. I'll just be really transparent. I didn't have time this morning to get all the way into it. If we get into late November and that is the case that we will need a tiebreaker between Cincinnati and Houston, rest assured, Pete and I will tell you about it. But again, Cincinnati's got the toughest path left here. I don't think Cincinnati gets out of this without a conference loss. They will lose to BYU, Utah, Arizona, TCU. 2 of those teams are probably going to beat Cincinnati. I think Tech loses to BYU. I do. And then even if BYU drops to Cincinnati, or drops to TCU, if BYU beats Tech and Houston goes undefeated, it is going to be, guys, not a single soul in the world thought this was possible preseason. I'm calling my shot. We are going to get BYU and the Houston Cougars in the Big 12 title game. And by the way, I might try to go to that game. There aren't many college football games I like going to if the Baylor Bears aren't involved. But I'll tell you what, if it's Houston and BYU, I'm going to go to that game. And I can't decide which shirt I'll wear. Because my boy Sean Bell is the passing game coordinator for the Cougars, and I want him to be the next head coach at Baylor. So it'd be really cool for Houston to win a title. But I kind of like this Bear Bachmeier kid, y'all. It's kind of hard to root against Kalani Sitake. And dadgummit, Baylor's a religious school, and the Church of Latter-day Saints folks have been so supportive of our show, and they're so cool. They're so chill. They're so nice. I might just go to that game in a BYU shirt. Maybe Drake Toll can hook me up with some BYU gear. All right. That's the Big 12 title race. We'll show you this graphic one more time just because I worked on it. I like it. It makes things very clear as to what's in front of each of these teams. Houston has the easiest path, but they need stuff in front of them to happen. Cincinnati has the hardest path, but they have a leg up because they're undefeated in conference. BYU has the best team, but the most difficult path. Tech has a path, but I think they're going to have to beat the best team at home. And again, that kind of makes that Tech BYU game in Lubbock a quasi-title game in my mind. That is where the Big 12 stands as of today. And shaping up again to be like the most exciting, compelling finish conference, unpredictable in college football. And that's part of why I love it. This is the Pete Sousa Show. My name's Scotty Swingler, sitting in for Pete today. We had Pete talk to us from the Charlotte airport to open the show today. He will be back to host tomorrow. Stay with me, because if you're a Dallas Cowboys fan or a Dallas Cowboys hater, I got some thoughts for you about Dak Prescott's performance yesterday. This is the Pete Sousa Show.
It doesn't matter if your investment budget is small or big. All you need is Benzinga Pro and its powerful news alerts, price tracking, and portfolio monitoring. Subscribe now, and we'll skyrocket your portfolio today.
Experience with the Bosley MD hair regrowth kit was amazing. It was easy to use. It let me take off my hat. I could go in public and have my picture taken and feel normal again.
BosleyMD.com.
Join us at golfpartnerusa.com and discover why we're the trusted choice for golf lovers worldwide. That's GOLFPARTNERUSA.com. Golf Partner. Experience the future of secure private cloud storage with Internex. Protect your files with end-to-end encryption, ensuring your data stays private and accessible only to you. That's INTERNXT.com today.
Apollo Neuro is a new kind of wearable that helps your body recover from stress, that helps you calm down and feel better. You sleep better, and you can get back to being yourself. Learn more at apolloneuro.com.
Protect your online privacy with NordVPN. Browse securely, access content from anywhere, and keep your data safe with military-grade encryption. NordVPN.com. That's NORDVPN.com.
Our patented handles were launched in 2018. We continue to push the boundaries of strength training. Join us in making your training more natural and effective. Visit Engels90.com to learn more and revolutionize your workout.
Dive into adventure with Scuba.com, your ultimate destination for top-tier scuba and snorkeling gear. Whether you're a beginner or a pro, trust Scuba.com for the best in diving equipment and expert guidance. Explore now at Scuba.com. That's SCUBA.com. Scuba.com. At Fullwell, we bring together the expertise of registered dietitians, MDs, and OBGYNs to give you the best fertility support. Fullwell, your trusted partner on your fertility journey. Visit us at FullwellFertility.com. Experience the perfect blend of exquisite craftsmanship and life-changing technology with Gevi. Every product is built with precision, featuring specialized parts that ensure durability, efficiency, and safety. Upgrade your everyday with Gevi. Visit us at gevi.com to discover more.
It's the Pete Sousa Show.
With San, owning iconic furniture no longer requires paying a premium. With over 15,000 satisfied customers worldwide, we've proven that high-quality furniture doesn't have to come with a high price tag. Explore our collection today at san.com.
At Covers & All, we've revolutionized protective solutions with cutting-edge, customizable covers, tarps, and curtains. We deliver premier protection at affordable prices and express shipping. Visit coversandall.com today for the perfect fit, guaranteed to last.
Relax with Hemp Delicious. Organically grown hemp, massively blended with delicious organic herbs, responsibly sourced for their holistic benefits. Each sip offers calming, antioxidant-rich wellness. Brewed just for you. Sip the calm with Hemp Delicious.
At Open Goal USA, we're revolutionizing training for both soccer and lacrosse with our innovative portable rebounders. Perfect for players of all ages and skill levels. Visit opengoaalusa.com and elevate your training today.
Get paid faster with Bill, the easiest way to send, receive, and manage your payments. No more delays, no more hassle. Whether you're a freelancer or a business, Bill makes payments seamless and secure, simple, fast, and reliable. Sign up today at bill.com.
Stability.
Welcome back, Pete Sousa Show. My name's Scotty Swingler. Happy to sit in for Pete today. Thanks for sticking with me. Thanks for sticking with us. Let's talk about Dak Prescott. Okay. I promise I don't enjoy being right about this. Maybe a little bit. I like being right. When someone shows you who they are, believe them. Isn't that the phrase? Did I say that correct, Lizzie? When someone shows you who they are, believe them. Okay, right. Okay. Thank you. Lizzie in the studio with me, working on stuff this morning. When someone shows you who they are in sports, especially over an extended period of time, that is who they are. There came a point in Tom Brady's career where it did not matter what the advanced metrics suggested. I would never place a bet against him because he showed you over 2 decades that if he had the ball in the fourth quarter of a tight game, he was winning that football game. Right? So believe him. Another modern example that I think is more controversial. Jalen Hurts doesn't check any conventional quarterback box for most people. But he was a winner in high school. He was a winner in college. And he has now been to not 1, but 2 Super Bowls and won one of them. Was Super Bowl MVP, I believe, in that Super Bowl last year. And yeah, his regular season this year has been up and down. But can I tell you something about Jalen Hurts? If the Eagles are in a playoff game and it's close, I'm not betting against him anymore. By the way, Patrick Mahomes got blown out in that Super Bowl. I'm not betting against him either. the loss in that Super Bowl was the anomaly, not the rule. Right? Okay. That's how sports works. I have said for 5 or 6 years, and I've only been working for Rogue Media for 1 year and on Pete's show every day since January. So maybe you've only heard me say this for 10 months. But I've said it over and over and over. And I've been accused of being a hater and being blind and not paying attention. I know Dak Prescott on paper is a good quarterback. I've actually been astonished to find this year, as he's reaching certain career marks, that on paper, he is almost identical to Tony Romo, who's one of my favorite football players I've ever gotten to watch play. I won't deny that. But there are 2 things I've said about Dak Prescott. And by the way, trying to be humble and admit when I'm wrong, you could probably say both these things about Tony Romo, and that hurts my heart but it's probably true. 2 things I've said about Dak Prescott. 1, my primary concern with Dak is health. It's not anything to do with how well he throws a football. And so far this season, he's looked healthier than he's looked in 5 years. Great. I need to see him make it through a regular season before I just check that box. I'm really thankful he's healthy. But the second thing about Dak Prescott, and we saw it again yesterday, and when people show you who they are, and Dak's been in this league, this is his 10th year in the league. It's been a decade. Hard to believe. It's been a decade. When people show you who they are over a decade, believe them, especially in football. Here's who Dak Prescott is. I had Grok run these numbers. So by the way, take this with a grain of salt. I know Grok can make mistakes. And by the way, if you're watching and you're like, Scotty, that's not true, you do the math and get back to me, and I'll get on tomorrow and be like, I screwed up. I'll never use Grok again. That's a lie. But here's what Grok says. I asked Grok to compare Dak's statistics over the course of his career versus non-playoff teams and versus playoff teams. Because some of you fell into this Dak Prescott trap this season, and it's the same trap you fell into 2 seasons ago. And it's the same trap you fell into 6 seasons ago. Because it happens every single year. Dak puts up Pro Bowl, I would argue borderline Hall of Fame numbers against bad teams. And I said it after the Jets win, and I said it after beating the Giants. In overtime, I was like, let's judge the Cowboys season and Dak after they play these playoff teams that are coming up later in their schedule. Well, the first great team on their schedule was the Denver Broncos. They played yesterday. Don't know if you noticed, they made the Cowboys look bad. But specifically, they made Dak look bad. I asked Grok, what are Dak's career numbers against playoff teams versus non-playoff teams? He's played 48 games over the course of his career against teams that made the playoffs that year, and 74 against non-playoff teams. Against playoff, let's start with non-playoff, because that's when he racks up his numbers, right? Against non-playoff teams, he's thrown 128 touchdowns to 37 interceptions, and he has a quarterback rating of 101.7. That's really good. It's really good. Anybody in the world would take those numbers for a starting NFL quarterback. It's really freaking good. He also has 24 rushing touchdowns against non-playoff teams. So let's just add those together because rushing touchdowns count. I think those should actually count towards a quarterback's stats. So that would be 152 touchdowns to 37 interceptions against non-playoff teams. That is GOAT status, Hall of Fame. If he's doing that every week, dude, I would be the biggest. I would have the Dak Prescott jersey on today. But he's played 48 games against playoff teams. In those games, he's thrown 85 touchdowns and 45 picks. That's worse than a 2-to-1 ratio. You don't keep a starting quarterback job in the NFL if that's what you do. You are not an NFL starting quarterback if you have a 2-to-1 touchdown interception ratio. Not in this era. Maybe in the 90s. Brett Favre, John Elway might have had a few seasons like that. By the way, that's Brett Favre and John Elway we're talking about, not Dak freaking Prescott, right? 93.4 quarterback rating. Not horrible. But then here's the other kicker. Half the rushing yards and 5 rushing touchdowns as opposed to 24 against non-playoff teams. That's a total of 90 total touchdowns to 45 picks. That is a 2-to-1 if you were including rushing touchdowns. Touchdown to interception ratio for Dak against playoff teams. And just to point out the contrast again, because I've specifically said on this show, it's about the interceptions. I've specifically said that. When he plays good teams, he throws picks. That's what happens. I want to reiterate. He has played 74 games against non-playoff teams and thrown 37 interceptions. He's played 48 games, 74 to 48. He's thrown 8 more interceptions, 45 total in those 48 games. Again, 45 interceptions in 48 games against against playoff teams. And maybe most damning of all, because say what you want about all the statistics and turning the ball over and touchdowns, you get paid to play quarterback. And by the way, again, Dak Prescott, highest paid player in the league. You get paid to play quarterback based on your wins and losses, right? Mahomes has not had 2 great statistical years. He's still the best quarterback in football. Why? He wins games. They reached the Super Bowl again last year. You would take Patrick Mahomes over Josh Allen or Lamar Jackson or Joe Burrow or anyone else, not because of stats. You would not even need to blink, or you would not say, Scotty, let me look up the numbers. No, you would say Pat Mahomes. Why? Wins and losses, right? Dak Prescott against non-playoff teams in his career. And by the way, I'm already seeing some discrepancy in these totals with Grok. So some of these numbers may not be perfect. Okay, I understand that. But if they're remotely close, you get the picture. Against non-playoff teams, he's 59-19. Wow, 59-19. Again, that's Hall of Fame, all-timer stuff against playoff teams. And maybe this is including playoff games. Maybe that's why I'm seeing a discrepancy in these totals. Against playoff teams, he's 21-32. What like Derek Carr? Maybe that's too generous. I compared him to Geno Smith in the offseason. Is that closer? He's 59-19 against non-playoff teams. He's 21-32 against playoff teams. That's it, y'all. That's it. And again, yesterday shocked people. Oh my God, Dak's played good all season. You're right. He hadn't played a great playoff team yet. The Packers. He played very well against the Packers. That's the only playoff team he's played great. It did not shock me at all that on the road against one of the 7 or 8 best teams in the league, he sucked. He sucked. No touchdowns, 2 picks. That's all I got to tell you. He's got the best receiving core, by the way, he's had in his career. I know he had Dez at one point. I know George Pickens and CeeDee Lamb are both number 1s in this league. Those are probably CeeDee Lamb's a top 4 receiver in this league. Pickens is probably top 10. And I said that when they traded for him. I was like, wow, I can't believe they got Pickens for what they got him for. 2 picks yesterday. Why? Well, played a good team. This quarterback doesn't beat good teams. He doesn't do it. He's shown you that for a decade. If someone shows you over time who they are, just believe them, especially when it comes to athletes. Most of these guys in the NFL, by the way, they've reached their potential. It's not like Dak in year 10. We're like, his ceiling. No, he reached his ceiling a few years ago. And he's an NFL quarterback. His ceiling is higher than 99.9% of the population. He's incredible. His ceiling is not. He should be the highest paid quarterback in the NFL. And his ceiling is not going to get the Dallas Cowboys past the first round of the playoffs for the rest of his career. We know who he is. We know who he is. Speaking of, if someone shows you who they are, believe them. I'm going to get into my most niche topic, but the topic I am most informed about, and that is the Baylor Bears. So if you're a Big 12 fan, stick around. If you're a Baylor fan, you should really stick around. If you're not, see ya. Hope you've enjoyed the Pete Sousa Show. But when we come back, we're going to talk about Baylor. We're going to talk about how Baylor football came into the season embraced by national media as a Big 12 title contender. By week 4, a quarterback who was embraced by national media as a Heisman candidate. Now they're 4-4. And if you look at the rest of the Baylor schedule, may not make a bowl game. I mean, if I'm being completely objective about it, really good odds Baylor doesn't go bowling this year with how good Houston is. Having to go on the road to Arizona. They might lose to UCF at home during homecoming this weekend. It's that bad in Waco. We'll talk about it next.
Serving Central Texas since 1889, TFNB Your Bank for Life takes pride in being more than a bank. At TFNB, we remain committed to these principles. If you value them too, come join us. TFNB, Your Bank for Life.
Football is back, and Underdog is the best place to make picks and win money all season long. Playing on Underdog is easy. Just pick whether your favorite players will go higher or lower on stats like touchdowns, receiving yards, interceptions, and more. Get your picks right and you can win up to 5,000 times your cash. You can play with as little as $1. Download the app today and sign up with promo code Sousa to score $50 in bonus funds when you play your first $5. That's promo code Sousa. That's S-O-U-S-A. Millions of fans have already won billions making picks on Underdog. Will you be next? Underdog. Make picks. Win money.
Must be 18 plus, 19 plus in Alabama and Nebraska, 19 plus in Colorado for some games, 21 plus in Arizona, Massachusetts, and Virginia, and present in a state where Underdog Fantasy operates. Terms apply. See assets.underdogfantasy.com/web/play-and-get-terms_DFS_.html for details. Offer not valid in Maryland, Michigan, Ohio, and Pennsylvania. Concerned with your play? Call 1-800-GAMBLER or visit www.ncpgambling.org. In New York, call the 24/7 HOPE line at 1-877-8-HOPE-NY or text HOPE-NY. That's 467-369.
Underdog, man, it's not just something we advertise. It's something I play every single week. It's a lot of fun. I mean, what I like about Underdog is it's fantasy games where you can win money, and it helps you engage with games you wouldn't otherwise maybe keep up with. I did win money over the weekend with my college football picks. I put those up late last week on this show. If you'd picked with me, you would have won money too. What's great about Underdog, you can do what's called a flex pick, where, so like one of my picks Saturday was I had Arch Manning below his projected passing yardage, and he went over, which shocked me. I mean, that big shootout game where Texas came back and won. And so in a lot of apps, I would have lost money because I didn't get that one correct. But I played the flex pick, and I got the other three. I had 4 picks. I got the other 3 correct. And so I still won money. And this was great about Underdog. You don't have to go all or nothing. Like, you can do these flex. So I did a flex pick for tonight. I want to show. And the other fun thing about Underdog, you can combine sports, right? So I did a little NBA plus Monday Night Football here. And this is what I'm rolling with tonight with the flex pick. Klay Thompson, higher than 1.5 3-pointers made tonight against Oklahoma City. Dallas is going to have to score a lot of points to keep up. I think Klay is an easy 3 or 4 3-pointers made, but just to keep it safe, I went higher than 1.5. Marcus Mariota tonight on Monday Night Football. Dude played horribly against a bad Dallas Cowboys defense last week. I like Marcus Mariota. I don't think it's out of the question. Almost said their old name. The Commanders could win this game tonight against Kansas City. I don't think they will, but I think Marcus Mariota is capable of getting them to a win. That being said, he will throw an interception or 5, higher than half an interception for Marcus Mariota. Travis Kelce had 3 receptions last week. It was his lowest in 6 weeks. So I picked Travis Kelce higher than 3.5 receptions tonight on Monday Night Football. Klay, Marcus, Travis, those are my picks for Underdog. And again, I did the flex option. So if I get 2 or 3 here, I will literally win cents because I didn't put a lot of money down, but I will still make money. And if I get all 3, I will make more money. So play along, Underdog. Again, that promo code is Sousa. It says the Pete Sousa Show, and they'll give you bonus cash with your first deposit. All right. Oh, boy. If you're new to the show, I grew up in Waco, Texas. My parents, father hailed from Eastern Tennessee, mother hailed from Houston. They met at Baylor. They never left Waco. I grew up in Waco in the 90s and early aughts. By the way, that's when Baylor football averaged like 2.5 wins a year. We went to every single home game and stayed until the final whistle. I went to Baylor. My freshman year, Robert Griffin won a Heisman. That was awesome, by the way. That was a lot of fun. My junior and senior year, the Baylor Bears won the Big 12. By the way, in dominant fashion, especially in 2013. So When I talk about Baylor football, it comes from a place of genuine love. It is a Baylor football. Take away the fact that I went to Baylor, that I have degrees from there, that I have so many friends who are involved with that university, that I have so much admiration and respect for so many people that lead at that university, teach at that university, etc. Take away all of that. Baylor football specifically is such a fundamental part of my every year life, my whole life, my calendar, my livelihood. Here I am trying to do the sports media thing because I started a Baylor football podcast in 2017. It is so important to me. It matters so much to me, and I care. And so sometimes when people in the media go after a program or a head coach, it can come across as calloused or mean or uninformed. And I just want to be really clear. This is where I, as a YouTuber and a podcaster, I bridge that line. I would love to think I'm true media and I'm a journalist and I'm objective. And on most topics, I think I can do that. On Baylor football, I cannot. I am not objective and I'm not a journalist. I'm a fan. I'm a fan who has a podcast. I'm an alum who gives my money to support, buys the gear, shows up every week, gets loud, and then talks about it on a Sunday night podcast. That podcast is called Please Bear With Me. I get to host that podcast with Terrence Ganaway. He was a running back for Baylor, played alongside Robert Griffin that Heisman year. I believe still has the Alamo Bowl game, maybe the bowl game record for rushing touchdowns in a game. Set the Baylor single season rushing record, which stood for a decade. Terrence is a good friend of mine. Obviously, as a former player who set records at the school, won the first bowl game for the school in almost 2 decades in 2011, and has stayed connected to the university and wants to be part of the coverage of the football team. He cares. He cares a lot. It matters to him, right? He literally bled on the field that I, cheer beside every week, right? Okay. Enough waxing poetic about Terrence and I. We just talked about Dak Prescott and said, when someone in sports shows you who they are over an extended period of time, believe them. What we have learned as Baylor fans and supporters is that 2021, 12-2, Big 12 champs, Sugar Bowl champs. So fun, by the way. Oh, I had so much fun that year. It's an anomaly for Dave Aranda. It is not who he is. And in a period of time when LSU fires Brian Kelly, an all-time coach in the sport, Penn State fires James Franklin, an all-time good coach in the sport, Clemson's probably having conversations about Dabo Swinney, one of the 3 best coaches in the sport. Oklahoma State fires Gundy, their only successful head coach ever, and he will be in the College Football Hall of Fame. Florida moves off a coach. Florida State's talking about moving off a coach. UCLA has moved off a coach. Freaking UAB fired Trent Dilfer. In that world, you cannot justify holding on to a 500 coach in 2025 for something that happened in 2021. By the way, just to be clear, the assistant head coach on that 2021 team is coaching number 13 Texas Tech now. What has Baylor been since he left? the two best players on that 2021 team just signed their second NFL contract and are both making bank. They are both captains on NFL defenses. One of them, Terrell Bernard, on an AFC championship game defense with the Buffalo Bills. What has Baylor been since Terrell Bernard and Jalen Petrie left? Matt Rule recruits, by the way. Just to add to that, Dave Aranda is in year 6. And not one player he recruited out of high school to Baylor has been drafted into the NFL. All of Baylor's draft picks, and they have gone down, they have declined since Matt Rule left. All of Baylor's draft picks under Dave Aranda have been guys that transferred in from somewhere else. By the way, that's likely to change when Josh Cameron gets drafted this spring, but that's besides the point. The point is, for 6 years, if you're a Baylor supporter, Dave Aranda has shown you who he is. A wonderful human, wonderful off the field culture guy. I mean, you're going to hear us talk about culture in a second. Wonderful. But he's a 500 coach. His teams are not prepared to play at kickoff. They're not. And every week we hear how good practice was, and then Baylor doesn't figure out how to play in a game until the second half. And so what I wanted to do to close the show today, I really wanted to get a guest on today to talk about Dave Aranda, but he's actually doing a press conference, his weekly press conference right now, and I'm going to watch it as soon as we wrap up the show. But last night on my podcast, please bear with me, Terrence Ganaway, former star, went off, man. Got really vulnerable and honest about how he feels about this as a former player who contributed to a Baylor football culture when Terrence was there, literally went from not making a bowl game in 2 decades to winning a bowl game in dominant fashion and winning a Heisman Trophy. Terrence Ganaway built this football program into the program that became 3-time Big 12 champs. So when he speaks about Dave Aranda, it isn't just Scotty spewing frustration. It's someone who's earned a voice at the table. So I'm going to run some, it's about 20 minutes of content from last night's episode of Please Bear With Me. If you're a Baylor fan or a Big 12 fan, I would really appreciate it if you'd find Please Bear With Me and subscribe. Also subscribe to this show if you haven't, Pete Sousa Show. But I want to air this. You're going to hear me talk for about 4 minutes about what made me upset after that football game. And then Terrence is going to talk for a long time. And because I couldn't get a guest in a short amount of time today to talk about this, I'm going to let Terrence Ganaway talk about it. And I think it's worth your time. And then I'll come back and wrap us up for the day. So here is Terrence Ganaway and myself on last night's edition of Please Bear With Me. And there are 2 men that stand up to the microphone, and one of them is Coach Dave Aranda. And we hear the same thing that we've heard for 4 seasons. We hear about care factor. We hear about disappointment. And we hear this sentence, which is now going to drive me up a wall. I know we're a good team. Or we're a good team.
It's good to see you guys. I'm way frustrated, man. It's angry, you know. That's a hurt locker room. You know, the thing that strikes me is we're in a position to get a stop and get the ball back to our offense to go win the game, and we just couldn't do it. Whether it's a yard short here or a guy less there, or we didn't make this communication here. It's just so frustrating. And, you know, we got ourselves in position and we couldn't do it. So that falls on me, and that's hard to take any questions you guys got.
Is there something that's not, I don't know, translating? Because you talk about good practices, all of this, and then, it doesn't really show up that game all the time. What's the disconnect?
Yeah, I think the things that, whether it's specifically for defense, the things that we're showing them in practice are all kind of fitted up. We all walk it through. We all execute it and try to get it as fast as we can. It's not going to be ever the tempo that we're going to see today, or tonight, but try to get as fast as we can. But I mean, those things, they're positive, and the practices are intense, and it's like, everyone comes in here at the start thinking that it ain't going to be like how this just was, and so there is something that's not connecting, and we've got to get it to connect because we got a good team. I still believe in this team, and we got a lot of work to do to get that connection.
The way Cincinnati takes care of the ball, I'm guessing couldn't turn it over.
Yeah.
They scored 14 on your 2 turnovers.
Yeah. It's you talk about just not starting as fast as we need to, and you talk about the turnovers, those have been consistent with our ills. We have to get that fixed. I have to get that fixed. That's holding us back from some wins that we need and some momentum that we probably need even more. And so I think we have to fix it. But I think despite all of it, the fight to kind of get into the mix at the end has been something to see. But I told them in there, you can't live the way we're living. It's not sustainable, and we have to play better as a team than what we're playing right now.
Then Jacob Redding gets on the microphone. Mind you, walk-on who became a starter, earned his way up on special teams. Mind you, without Jacob Redding, this team would be 2-6. Just if he doesn't make 2 of the best plays of the season on interceptions, this team would be 2-6. Jacob Redding gets up to the microphone and tells the freaking truth.
Jacob, just I guess how disappointing is that loss, especially with it kind of felt like this was kind of almost a must-win. Like, what was the message after that game?
I mean, I feel like we've done a lot of talking. It's hard to say the right things, but I mean, the rest of the season's going to be like what our real character is, because real reality is we're out of the Big 12 race, like that was our goal at the beginning of the season. But now it's like we got is the guys in the locker room, and how we're going to respond the rest of the year is that's what our real character is, when adversity hits. So.
Jacob, how tough was that to get in a 24-0 hole, and then you look up and it's a 1-possession game there late?
I mean, starting fast was the message all week, and I mean we did the opposite of that. So, and we got to take the Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday practice to Saturday. I mean, it's plain and simple. We've preached starting fast, and then we come out and do this. It's like, I don't know.
When you cut it to 7, or when you cut it to 7, what was the focus coming out on that drive? Try to slow them down.
I mean, there was a whole lot of belief at that moment. We've done it before. We've proved we can come back against the wall. We proved we can come back and win ball games. But I mean, it was a must stop, and we just one guy short here, one guy short there. It's like just cleaning it up, execute.
What was there anything specific they were doing in the run game, or was it just blocking and?
I mean, it was just not sound in our execution of the game plan. So.
Is that guys not getting in their gaps, or what exactly was it?
Yeah, I mean, step slow, getting walled off, like not seeing a puller, not seeing this, not seeing that. It's like just a step slow or a gap slow, and gonna get you beat.
Frustrating that they scored 41 points. If you look at Sorsby's numbers, you largely kept him in check, but yet still 41 points up. Frustrating for the game to kind of flow down.
Yeah, I mean, 41 points, that's a lot of points. You're not going to win many ball games giving up 41 points. And had over 200 rushing yards, and that's going to get you beat a lot of games, Like, I don't know, we just got to – little things was what we got. That's what we got to speak today.
Jacob Redding gets up on the microphone and says, we're about to find out what kind of character we have, because our goals, we've failed. Our goal was to get to a Big 12 championship, and that's out the window. And it's unacceptable. And now we're going to find out what kind of character we have, depending on how we play the rest of the season. And I was astonished and disappointed, if I can use one of Dave Aranda's favorite words, that a walk-on safety is telling the truth and taking accountability more honestly than the head coach of the football program. Now that we've got some people joining us, it's been 3 minutes since we went live. I want to throw up this graphic. And I just put this together real quick before we went live. Here's the graphic. Team rankings right now. Remember, there's 136 teams in FBS football. Baylor is 123rd in points allowed per game. 111th in yards allowed per game. 119th in defensive stop rate. That's one spot lower than we were last week. We were 118th, by the way. 135th in fumbles lost per game out of 136 teams. 133rd in turnover differential. 104th in penalties per game. And 92nd, Terrence and I were joking before we went live. Oh, we made the top 100 in penalty yardage per game. This is your Baylor Bear team in 2025. And the reason I bring up these statistics, and yes, I cherry-picked statistics. I did. There are lots of team stats out there. By the way, Baylor doesn't rank outstanding in any of them. But I picked these specifically because what do these stats have in common? They come back to the head coach. They come back to the head coach. Why do I say that? Because we hired a head coach who had just won a national championship as a defensive coordinator, and we are fielding a bottom, 6% defense, bottom 7% defense in the country. Because we hired a coach who was supposedly so steady and disciplined and singularly focused on football. And yet, what do fumbles and penalties tell you about this team? They don't play with discipline. They don't play with discipline. I have not played football beyond the freshman level of high school. And I know holding on to the football and not committing dumb penalties is a discipline issue. You can coach it out of guys or you can't. And this head coach can't. This is the reality of where Baylor football is at this week. Is this defense so behind the offense in terms of talent? And again, healthy talent. We know there's a lot of guys hurt. But is this defense so behind the offense that the offense isn't getting good reps in practice to prepare for games? Explain to me how that works on a practice field and if that could be affecting or if I'm drawing conclusions that aren't there.
Yeah, I mean, everyone does something different, but our defense, our first team defense is not – they're not getting a ton of reps against our starting O. Maybe they have a period of two, but a lot of it is you're looking at scout team defense of defensive players. But a lot of it is I don't know if they're practicing in shorts or T-shirts or full pads, but practicing fast, being physical at the point of contact, finishing through, and then having defensive guys ripping at the ball, picking off the ball, and getting to the quarterback. They should reward the scout team defensive players as much as possible, incentivize them to, like, hey, you should be celebrated if you get a pick. You should be celebrated if you rip the ball out from the starting running back. And then the offense has to instill a culture so high that we are not going to be embarrassed like this. After every run, after every caught ball, we're going to tuck the ball and we're going to sprint. I mean, I remember at Baylor, like every time, I mean, the walk-on linebackers are just ripping at the ball. You're like, bro, the play's been over. But you wouldn't fumble it. I promise you that. Like, they're like 5 seconds later just ripping at the ball. And so it's a standard that's been allowed. What you allow is what you coach. Turnovers, penalties, blocking issues. This ain't something that just happened. It happened last year. It happened in the spring. It is something that is coached. And when you say, hey, let's give someone else a nod at it, I don't see it. And I know that it affects people's jobs and livelihoods. But my 7th grade coach, Buddy Ray, walked into the locker room and he said, this room has a lot of potential. Potential will get me fired. And that's what this team is. It has a lot of potential, not a lot of production. And that is why we see what we see week in and week out. They're not producing or being held accountable to the standard that is expected from us fans. Maybe they're held accountable to the standard that they want to see. But, man, there's a lot of stuff, man, that I see on film. I see in the game. I see, and you can't tell me it's not being allowed at practice. You just can't tell me that someone is coaching this out of the players. They're not. They're not. And so when you have mental lapses like that, you get what you get. And Baylor has been terrible on defense all year. They've started to regress on offense. I don't know if there's a group on the field that's gotten better to this point in the season. You can't say, well, no, this group has gotten – no. You cannot tell me one group on the field that has gotten better, a group, not just a player.
Right.
An entire group. Safeties, DBs, receivers, inside receivers, slot receivers, a group, offensive line. And listen, at this point, Scotty, it's coached, which I think is a culture issue, and you can't fix a culture in midseason. You just can't.
I really like this one, Terrence. I'm not sure I love anything after my Lord, wife, kids, and Spurs basketball more than Baylor football, but right now I cannot stomach watching games anymore. It's not the wins, losses, 1-5 versus TCU. It's that I have no clue what school or team I am watching. There's no life, no fun, no motivation. There is zero identity. College football for fans isn't just win-loss record. It's all the intangible things that make game day special. Baylor has zero special things right now. By the way, well said. Terrence, Baylor went 8-5 in 2012. Baylor went 8-5 last year. One of those felt very different than the other, at least for me.
Well, 8-5 with losing a lot of guys. And we brought back a lot of guys in the second 8-5. And we followed up the first 8-5 with 2 back-to-back Big 12 championships. Like Kendall, we had offensive linemen, we had a ton of the defensive guys, Elliott Coffey, all of those guys left. I left, Robert left, Philip Blake left. I mean, there were so many guys that had left that team to play in the NFL, to continue to play football. Was there anybody last year that went to play? I'm just being honest. I don't know. Someone drop it in the chat. Is there anyone from last year's football team that's playing football?
There are. I will answer because I know the answer to this. There are several who are on practice squads today. I don't believe anyone is on an active roster.
So two different. Yes, two different. This is why it is different. We were very fortuitous and we caught lightning. We did all the right things. I felt we were going to go to Texas Tech last year, and I felt like we were going to get blown out. I was hopeful and they put a beating on Texas Tech. And I was disappointed in Texas Tech. Joey was like, I got this one thing, no regrets. And I assume it was like a jab at Baylor for them not hiring him and hiring Aranda, but no regrets. And then we freaking blasted Texas Tech. And then we went on our 6-game, win record streak. And then we followed it with a abysmal loss to LSU. We started out this season with Auburn. You see how all that worked out. But listen, man, these teams were different because there is 0 things special happening in Waco today. What our buddy just said couldn't be more spot on.
Yep.
There's not anything that brings the life out of people. Just,
and by the way,
unwavering hope and commitment. Like, we're going to figure it out somehow. There's none of that.
And by the way, to that point, Terrence, the culture that was around that 2012 team meant that when a number 1 team walked into Floyd Casey Stadium, the number 1 team in the country, and got doubled up by Baylor, I wasn't shocked.
Yeah.
I actually made a bet on that game and won.
I made a bet. I told you about that last week. Now I wasn't there with Chauncey Billups, but I was betting on games. But again, Scotty, like when you think about what that team expected and what fans expected when we walked into games, if you didn't show up to a game like at the kickoff, by the time you got to your seat, it may be 14-0 Baylor. Like, we get to our seat, we're down 14-0. It's like, man, all right, I guess our team hadn't showed up either. And this is week in and week out. Someone asked the question, why is it like lack of discipline? Because it's not coached. You cannot tell me, Coach Baber said this all the time. Ball security is job security. If you're coaching, if you're allowing people to put the ball on the ground in practice, you cannot be surprised when they put it on the ground in the game. If you're allowing passes, one-on-one, touchdown passes to not be thrown on the money, then in practice, then you cannot make it manifest in a game. If you're not putting your safeties in situations where they have to come up and fill the only gap, everyone else has played gap assignment football, A gap, B gap, linebacker field, corner field, the quarterback has to go up the middle, and you got a safety that cannot fill the gap on a quarterback. I'm not saying Robert Griffin or Lamar Jackson. We're talking about Sorsby. That is coached. It's discipline. There is 0 expectation from us fans that it will happen, and it does seem like it's very little expectation that it's going to happen on the field from the guys on the sideline. And so when you think about why everyone is so frustrated, it's because the product is piss poor. It is bad. It's coached bad. It's ran bad. It's produced bad. Everything about the program is sour. And at some point, you got to say, we have to cut it off for it spoil everything else. And I think, in my opinion, I think everything else is spoiled. Sawyer started out as Saw Dog. Now he's Raw Dog. And that's not great. Bryson cannot run. He's not healthy. He's not getting what he needs to do to get healthy. And we got 2 freshman running backs that are trying to carry us, and we got a veteran-led offensive line that can't move the line of scrimmage. We got senior receivers that can't hold on to the ball. And I get it. It happens. It's a part of the game. But when you got a defense that is almost last in turnovers, because we ain't forcing anybody to make a turnover. We're not putting our guys in positions to go get an interception. We're playing on our heels, and we're getting blasted off the ball down after down after down. I honestly thought the game yesterday that Cincinnati might score 75 points. I didn't think they were going to punt the ball at all. And for some reason, We're looking up in the fourth quarter and we're down 7 points. And you're thinking, how in the heck did we get here? We got a really good roster. We got to get a really good roster. This roster with a different coach and a different culture, maybe 7-1, maybe 8-0.
Yep.
But the standard in Waco today, from Mac Rose to Linda to Dave Aranda, is a 4-4 standard, and that's why everybody is so frustrated. It was 4-4 standard last year. It was 4-4 standard in 2023. It was 4-4 standard in 2022, and it is why you've seen a decline, because there is no one in the building that's willing to say it is unacceptable. It's not going to happen. You either get up, you either crap or get off the pot. And no one's saying that. And it's the reason why we have a very average football team. And we've had an average football team for the last 4 years. And so I don't like to get this passionate about it, because I know some of these guys may, follow me on Twitter and stuff. But I think if you're honest, you see it too. It was a great experiment. I don't like calling for people's job. I got a job. I want to take care of my family. But I said head coaching, I hate it for the assistant guys more than ever. Randa, I don't know what his buyout, $30 million. You can retire and live in the hill country next to Art Browse. I feel for the assistant coaches. But right now, it's a bad product from top to bottom. Offense is struggling. They cannot run the ball. You look at what happened in 2012 when we went on a winning streak. Lake Seastrunt, I think he had 1,000 yards to come on in the second half of the season. And then he became the starter the next year. You know what he did the following year. But Nick Florence he was a good college quarterback. When you take all the pressure off of him, you give him Terrence Williams, that guy's one-on-one when defense has to come up to stop a Glasgow Martin and to stop a Lake Seastrunt, you're going to get one-on-ones.
Yep.
And we can't get any one-on-ones because defense got 3 down linemen, and we still can't run the ball. It's a bad product. It's bad coaching. It's that graphic that you showed right there. It gets every defensive coordinator in America fired year after year. There is no one that can survive the job like this. No one in America can survive a job like this unless you're working under Mac Rhodes. It's the only way that's acceptable. The only way. If I don't go into the office and I say, hey, Aranda, 8-4 last year, LSU kind of got us, but it's bowl game. Maybe we let off the gas. It is unacceptable that you start out a season, SMU a couple of plays away, Kansas State. I still can't believe how we won against Kansas State. I mean, it was a 3rd and 2, and they decided to go in the center and did not have a great play.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you, Matt Wells. Thank you. Appreciate that, Coach Wells. Thank you.
I have no idea.
Thank you, Jacob Redding.
Expectation is not, this is what you must do this year. Non-negotiable. Non-negotiable.
Yeah.
The culture is not there to align with a 8-0 team. So that's all I got.
Once again, that was Terrence Ganaway on last night's edition of Please Bear With Me. Terrence and I do Please Bear With Me every single Sunday night, live at 5 o'clock. And of course, you can watch it on YouTube afterward. Just search for Please Bear With Me. Wow. We covered a lot of ground today. We had a check-in from the Charlotte airport. Thank you, Pete Sousa. We talked AP Top 25, Big 12 football, Dallas Cowboys, Dak Prescott, and then we ended it off with, Terrence Ganaway just preaching about the need for accountability, standards, championship expectations. Great show today. Thanks so much for joining us. Thanks to Slovaceks. Hey, if you're driving through West, go the Slovacek side. No, don't go to the other side of the highway. There's not even anything over there. Don't worry about it. Go to Slovaceks. Thank you to Slovacek. Thanks to Pete for letting me sit in. Chris Visser, our executive producer. My name is Scotty Swingler. It's been a pleasure. Pete will be back with us tomorrow from Charlotte. We'll have to hear about what he's doing with that. What is it? ESPN, hoop, whatever, basketball. Pete's football, basketball kind of converging right now. Pete's a busy guy. I'm sure we'll hear all about it. I'm sure he'll have something to say about my Dak Prescott take. By the way, if you're bored later today, I'm also on the Matt Mosley Show from 1 to 3. You can find that Matt Mosley Show. That is very Dallas Cowboys Baylor centric. So if today was your kind of show for Pete, join us on the Matt Mosley Show. I'm going to bring up this Dak thing to him and see what he thinks. I bet he and I are pretty aligned on the Baylor stuff. I bet he's got a different opinion than me on Dak, and I will yell at him about it. So this has been the Pete Sousa Show. See you tomorrow.
It's the Pete Sousa Show. Sports.
We definitely love our relationship and love Extraco. It's been an amazing experience.
They made the PPP process easier. They were reaching out to me saying, what can I do to help you? That made a huge difference because my stress level when we shut down to afterwards was night and day.
Our experience with Extraco has been phenomenal since the very beginning, so we love Extraco.
Show. Sports.
Nobody tells our stories better than our clients.
The difference is stark. I was rear-ended at 70 miles an hour. I was injured, had a concussion. The insurance company, they delayed. They were playing games from the initial conversation. They weren't going to help me. The biggest thing I learned through this is that you can't go through this alone. I called Daniel Stark. They were going to help me and everything was going to be all right. Daniel Stark got me 10 times the insurance company offered.
The difference is stark.
Show. Sports.
Our professionals are not only experts in managing urgent concerns, but also in providing top-notch preventative health care. We're proud to connect pet owners to a vast network of licensed veterinary professionals, ready to address any immediate concerns. Book your first appointment today.
Nalgene Outdoor has been your trusted companion, fueling adventures and helping protect the planet. We're committed to reducing waste, improving access to clean water, and providing simple, safe, and sustainable products for you and your family. NALGENE.com. We are Rogue Media Sports.